The newsroom was a glass cage, glittering under Manhattan's midday sun, when I got the call that shattered my world. Lena, my wife of 3 years, was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "She's gone." Claire Riley jumped. She choked out, and my heart stopped, not just for the tragedy, but for the name I'd spent years trying to bury. Riley Harper, Lena's ex, wasn't just a ghost from her past. She was the storm that never left. A fiery journalist with a laugh that could light up a room and a temper that could burn it down, Riley had been Lena's first love, the one who'd carved a permanent mark on her heart before I ever had a chance. Now, at 32, I stood in our Brooklyn apartment, clutching the phone, wondering how a woman I'd never met could unravel my marriage from beyond the grave. Lena came home that night, her blonde hair tangled, her green eyes hollow. She collapsed onto the couch, staring at the ceiling as if it held answers I couldn't see. "I can't do this anymore, Claire," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I can't keep pretending everything's okay." I froze, my pulse hammering. Divorce. The word hung between us, unspoken but heavy, like a guillotine waiting to fall. We'd met 5 years ago at a dive bar in Williamsburg, where Lena's laugh had drawn me in like a moth to a flame. She was 27 then, a freelance photographer with a knack for capturing raw, unguarded moments. I was a graphic designer, steady and pragmatic, the opposite of her chaotic energy. Our first date was a rainy afternoon at the Met, where she teased me for overanalyzing the brushstrokes in a Monet. By our first anniversary, we were married, promising forever in a small ceremony under cherry blossoms in Central Park. But Riley was always there, a shadow in Lena's stories, her name slipping out in quiet moments. Riley used to say, or Riley loved this song. I'd smile, nod, and swallow the jealousy, telling myself it was just nostalgia. Lena loved me. She'd chosen me. Yet, as I watched her now, curled up and distant, I wondered if I'd ever truly had her. The news of Riley's death spread like wildfire. She'd been a rising star at the New York Herald, known for her fearless exposés on corruption. Her final story, an investigation into a shady real estate mogul, was set to publish the day she jumped. The police called it suicide, but whispers of foul play circulated. Lena, who hadn't spoken to Riley in years, was obsessed, scrolling through old texts, rereading emails, piecing together a puzzle I didn't understand. "Claire, she wouldn't just give up," Lena said one night, her laptop glowing with Riley's articles. "She was too stubborn." I wanted to scream that Riley wasn't our problem, that our marriage was crumbling under her ghost. Instead, I sat beside her, my hand on her back, feeling the distance between us grow. Days turned into weeks, and Lena's grief became a wall I couldn't climb. She'd leave for hours, visiting places she and Riley used to go, coffee shops in the East Village, bookstores in Soho. I followed her once, hating myself for it, and saw her standing outside a dive bar, staring at the neon sign like it held Riley's soul. When she came home, she didn't mention it, and I didn't ask. One night, she broke the silence. "I need to know why she did it," Lena said, her voice trembling but resolute. "And I can't do that while I'm with you." The words cut deeper than any knife. She wasn't just mourning Riley, she was choosing her memory over me. I wanted to fight, to beg, but the look in her eyes told me I'd already lost. I moved out the next day, to a cramped studio in Queens, leaving behind the life we'd built. My heart screamed to stay, but my pride wouldn't let me. As I packed, I found a photo of us from our wedding day, Lena's smile radiant, mine full of hope. I tucked it into my pocket, a reminder of what I was fighting for, even if I didn't know how to win her back. Lena's quest for answers consumed her. She started digging into Riley's last story, contacting sources, chasing leads. I watched from afar, torn between anger and worry. The real estate mogul, Victor Crane, was a dangerous man with ties to the city's underbelly. If Riley's death wasn't suicide, Lena was walking into a fire I couldn't protect her from. One evening, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "Meet me at the Herald's rooftop." I found something. My stomach churned. The rooftop. The place where Riley died. I didn't know if Lena was chasing closure or chasing ghosts, but I knew I couldn't let her go alone. The Herald's rooftop was a concrete expanse framed by the city's jagged skyline, the wind carrying the faint hum of traffic below. I found Lena there, leaning against the ledge, her blonde hair whipping in the breeze. She looked small against the vastness of New York, her eyes fixed on the spot where Riley had fallen. "Claire," she said, startled, clutching a manila folder. "You came." Her voice was a mix of relief and guilt, and it broke something in me. I wanted to shake her, to demand why she was risking everything for a woman who'd left her years ago. Instead, I stepped closer, the cold biting through my jacket. "What did you find?" I asked, nodding at the folder. She hesitated, then handed it to me. Inside were printouts of emails, grainy photos, and handwritten notes. Riley's work, meticulous and chaotic. One email, sent to an anonymous address, mentioned Victor Crane by name, accusing him of bribing city officials to push through illegal developments. This was her last story, Lena said. She was going to expose him. I scanned the pages, my designer's eye catching the details, dates, names, a pattern of threats. "Lena, this is dangerous." If Crane knew Riley was onto him, I trailed off, the implication heavy. She nodded, her jaw tight. "I think he had her killed." The words hung between us, sharp and real. I wanted to tell her to stop, to come home, to choose us. But the fire in her eyes, the same fire I'd fallen in love with, told me she wouldn't. "I'm not asking you to help," she said softly. "But I can't let this go." I spent the next week wrestling with my choices. Stay out of it and lose her forever, or dive into her obsession and risk everything. I chose the latter, not because I cared about Riley, but because I still loved Lena, even if she was breaking my heart. We started meeting in secret, poring over Riley's notes in dimly lit cafes. Lena's passion was infectious, pulling me into a world of conspiracies and shadows. We tracked down one of Riley's sources, a nervous ex-city planner named Mark, who confirmed Crane's influence ran deep. Cops, judges, even journalists on his payroll. "Riley got too close," he whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "Be careful." Lena's determination grew, but so did her recklessness. She'd stay out late, chasing leads without telling me, coming back with dark circles under her eyes. I hated how much she reminded me of Riley's ghost, bold, unstoppable, self-destructive. One night, after she ignored my calls for hours, I snapped. "You're going to get yourself killed," I shouted in her apartment, the walls echoing our wedding vows. She flinched but didn't back down. "You don't get it, Claire. Riley was everything to me once. I owe her this." Her words were a slap, and I stormed out, the photo in my pocket feeling heavier than ever. The next day, I found a voicemail from an unknown number. A man's voice, low and threatening. "Tell your wife to stop digging, or she'll end up like Harper." My blood ran cold. I showed Lena, expecting her to pull back. Instead, she doubled down, hacking into Riley's old cloud account, uncovering a hidden audio file. Riley's voice crackled through, calm but urgent. "If you're hearing this, I'm probably dead. Crane's men are watching me. Lena, if you find this, don't let him win." Lena's hands shook as she played it again, tears streaming down her face. I wanted to hate Riley, but hearing her voice, raw, desperate, still protecting Lena, made her real in a way I hadn't expected. "We have to finish this," Lena said, her eyes pleading with me for the first time. I nodded, not for Riley, but for the woman I'd vowed to love through anything. We were in too deep to turn back now. The audio file changed everything. Riley's voice wasn't just a ghost anymore, it was a call to arms, and Lena answered with a ferocity that scared me. We set up a war room in my Queen studio, walls covered with sticky notes, timelines, and photos of Crane's known associates. Lena barely slept, her focus razor-sharp, while I juggled my design clients and our investigation, my heart torn between fear and loyalty. We needed proof, something concrete to tie Crane to Riley's death. The audio was compelling, but it wasn't enough for the police, who'd already closed the case as suicide. Lena reached out to another of Riley's contacts, a hacker named Jade, who worked out of a basement in Chinatown. Jade was wiry, with a buzz cut and a distrustful stare, but she owed Riley a favor. "She saved my life once," Jade said, cracking her knuckles. "I'll get you into Crane's private server, but you're on your own after that." Late nights blurred into early mornings as Jade guided us through encrypted files. We found invoices, coded messages, and a list of payments to a man named Viper. Lena's eyes lit up. "This is it, Claire. Viper's his enforcer." I wasn't so sure. Crane was too smart to leave a trail that obvious. But Lena was relentless, tracking Viper to a warehouse in Red Hook. Against my better judgment, we went. The warehouse was a hulking shadow under the moonlight, its windows boarded up. Lena moved like she was born for this, slipping through a side door while I kept watch, my heart pounding. Inside, we found crates of documents, permits, contracts, all tied to Crane's developments. But then we heard footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. "Get down," I hissed, pulling Lena behind a stack of boxes. A man with a scar across his cheek, Viper I assumed, stalked through, a gun glinting in his hand. Lena's breath was shallow, her hand gripping mine. We waited, frozen, until he left. She wanted to keep searching, but I dragged her out. "We're not dying for this," I whispered fiercely. Back at the studio, we fought. "You're holding me back," Lena yelled, her voice raw. "I'm trying to keep you alive." I shot back. The tension broke when she kissed me, sudden and desperate, like she was drowning and I was air. For a moment, it was just us, the way it used to be. But when we pulled apart, Riley's shadow was still there. Jade called the next day with a breakthrough. A deleted email from Crane to Viper, dated the night Riley died. "Handle the reporter," it read. My stomach dropped. This was the proof we needed, but it came with a cost. Crane's men were closing in. Jade had spotted a car tailing her. Lena wanted to go public, to leak the email to the press. I begged her to wait, to think about the consequences. "If we do this wrong, we're dead," I said. She looked at me, her eyes softening for the first time in weeks. "I don't want to lose you, Claire. But I can't lose her justice either." We compromised. We'd take the email to a trusted editor at the Herald, someone Riley had respected. But as we prepared to meet, my phone buzzed again. Another threat, this time with a photo of us leaving the warehouse. "Back off, or you both die." Lena's resolve didn't waver, but mine did. I loved her, but I was terrified, not just of Crane, but of losing the woman I'd married to a cause that wasn't mine. The editor's name was Sarah Klein, a veteran journalist with steel-gray hair and a no-nonsense attitude. We met her at a crowded diner in Midtown, the clatter of plates masking our conversation. Lena slid the email across the table, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. Sarah read it, her face unreadable, then leaned back. "This is big," she said. "But Crane's untouchable. You need more." Lena's jaw tightened. "More? This says he ordered her death." Sarah shook her head. "It's circumstantial. You need a witness, a recording, something undeniable." I saw the frustration flare in Lena's eyes, but she nodded. Sarah promised to dig into her own sources but warned us. Crane's got eyes everywhere. Lay low. We tried. For a week, we stayed in my studio, avoiding our old haunts. But Lena couldn't sit still. She kept replaying Riley's audio, her voice a haunting loop in our cramped space. "She trusted me to finish this," Lena said one night, her eyes red from crying. I wanted to comfort her, but my own hurt bubbled up. "And what about me, Lena? What about us?" She looked away, guilt written across her face. I don't know how to do both, she admitted. It was the most honest she'd been in months, and it gutted me. I slept on the couch that night, the photo from our wedding day burning a hole in my pocket. Jade called with a new lead. Viper was meeting a contact at a club in Hell's Kitchen. Lena insisted on going, and I couldn't let her go alone. The club was a neon haze, pulsing with music and bodies. We spotted Viper in a corner booth, talking to a man in a suit. Lena snapped photos with her phone, her hands trembling. I pulled her back before anyone noticed, but the man in the suit locked eyes with me. My blood ran cold. He knew we were there. We fled, weaving through the crowd, the city's pulse matching my own. Back at the studio, Lena's excitement was electric. That was Crane's lawyer, she said, zooming in on the photos. This ties them together. But I couldn't share her thrill. The threats were piling up, and I felt like we were drowning in Riley's war. The next morning, Sarah called. She'd found a retired cop who'd worked Crane's cases, someone willing to talk, but only in person. We met him in a park in Brooklyn, an older man with a limp and haunted eyes. Riley came to me weeks before she died, he said. She had evidence, bank records, wiretaps. I told her to back off. Crane's men don't play. He handed us a USB drive. She gave me this. Said it was her insurance. Lena's hands shook as she took it. Back home, we plugged it in. The files were a goldmine, recordings of Crane's calls, documents proving his bribes. But one recording stopped us cold. Riley pleading with someone. Don't do this, Victor. I'll stop. Then a man's voice, Crane's, too late. Lena's face went pale. This is it, she whispered. This is what got her killed. I nodded, but my mind was racing. We had proof, but at what cost? Crane's men were circling, and I wasn't sure we'd make it out alive. That night, Lena reached for my hand, her touch tentative. I'm sorry, Claire, she said. I didn't mean to drag you into this. I wanted to believe her, but the weight of Riley's memory still hung between us. The USB drive was our ticket to justice, and our death sentence. Lena wanted to hand it over to Sarah immediately, but I convinced her to wait. We needed a plan, a way to protect ourselves. Crane's men were closing in. I'd seen the same black SUV outside my studio twice that week. We went to Jade for help. She set us up with burner phones and a safe house in the Bronx, a dingy apartment with peeling wallpaper. Don't use your real names, she warned. And don't trust anyone. Lena nodded, but I could see the toll this was taking. Her eyes were sunken, her hands restless. I missed the woman who'd dance with me in our kitchen, laughing over spilled wine. In the safe house, we listened to the recordings again. Riley's voice was a knife, cutting through the years Lena had spent trying to move on. One file was different, a personal message to Lena. If I don't make it, Riley said, her voice soft, know that I loved you. I'm sorry I broke us. Lena broke down, sobbing into my shoulder. For the first time, I didn't resent Riley. I saw her as Lena did, a flawed, brilliant woman who'd loved her fiercely. But love wasn't enough to keep us safe. Sarah called with bad news. The retired cop had disappeared. Either he's hiding or Crane got to him, she said. Lena's resolve hardened. We publish now, she said. All of it. I argued for caution, but she was done waiting. Riley died for this. I won't let it be for nothing. We met Sarah at a hotel in Times Square, the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. She brought a lawyer, a sharp woman named Rachel who specialized in whistleblower cases. This is enough to bring Crane down, Rachel said, reviewing the files. But you'll need witness protection. Both of you. Lena agreed instantly, but I hesitated. Witness protection meant new identities and new life. Without our past, our friends, our home. I looked at Lena, her face alight with purpose, and realized I might lose her either way. I'm in, I said, my voice steady despite the fear. The plan was to leak the files to multiple outlets simultaneously, ensuring Crane couldn't bury the story. Sarah coordinated with The Washington Post and The Guardian, while Rachel prepared legal protections. But as we left the hotel, I spotted the black SUV again. "Lena," I whispered, grabbing her arm. She saw it too, her face paling. We ducked into an alley, hearts racing. The SUV slowed, then sped off, but the message was clear. Crane knew. That night, in the safe house, Lena turned to me. "If we don't make it," she said, echoing Riley's words, "I need you to know I love you." I kissed her, pouring every ounce of my heart into it. "We're making it," I said fiercely. But as we fell asleep, tangled together, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were running out of time. The next morning, Jade called in a panic. "They hit my place," she said. "Get out now." We grabbed the USB and ran, the city blurring around us. Lena's hand in mine was the only thing keeping me grounded. The safe house wasn't safe anymore. We moved to a motel in Jersey City, the kind with flickering neon signs and questionable stains. Lena was a live wire, pacing as she called Sarah. "The story goes live tomorrow," Sarah confirmed. "Stay hidden until then." Hiding wasn't easy. Crane's men were relentless, and the city felt like a trap closing around us. Lena kept the USB on her at all times, tucked into a locket she'd worn since college, a gift from Riley. I hated that locket, but I didn't say it. Instead, I focused on keeping us alive, checking exits, watching for tails. That night, Lena broke down again. "I never stopped loving her," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "But I love you too, Claire. I don't know how to hold both." Her honesty was a knife, but it was also a bridge. I took her hand. "We don't have to figure out tonight," I said. "Just stay with me." She nodded, and we made love, slow and desperate, like it might be our last time. Afterward, she traced the lines of my face, her eyes searching. "You're my home," she said. I wanted to believe her, but Riley's ghost still lingered. The story broke at dawn. Headlines screamed across every major outlet. Real estate tycoon linked to journalist's death. The USB's files, recordings, documents, emails were undeniable. Social media erupted, demanding Crane's arrest. Lena watched the news on the motel's grainy TV, tears streaming down her face. "We did it, Riley," she whispered. But victory was short-lived. Rachel called with a warning. "Crane's gone underground. He's desperate, and that makes him dangerous." We needed to get to a federal safe house in Philadelphia, but as we packed, the motel door burst open. Viper stood there, gun raised, his scar glinting in the dim light. "Give me the drive," he growled. Lena clutched the locket, her eyes defiant. I stepped in front of her, heart pounding. "You'll have to kill us both," I said, surprising myself with my own courage. Viper hesitated, then smirked. "That can be arranged." Lena moved fast, grabbing a lamp and smashing it against his head. He staggered, and I tackled him, adrenaline surging. We wrestled the gun away, but not before he landed a punch that left my vision blurry. Lena dragged me out, and we ran, the night swallowing us. We made it to a gas station, where a payphone became our lifeline. Rachel sent a car, and by morning, we were in Philadelphia under federal protection. Lena held my hand the whole way, her grip fierce. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. I didn't respond. I was too tired, too bruised, too in love. The feds confirmed Crane's arrest that afternoon. Viper was in custody too, spilling secrets to save himself. Riley's justice was served, but at a cost. Lena and I were alive, but our marriage was still on the edge of a cliff. The safe house in Philadelphia was a sterile box, all beige walls and fluorescent lights. Lena and I were safe, but we weren't free. Witness protection loomed, a future of new names and erased pasts. I watched Lena as she sat by the window, staring at nothing, the locket still around her neck. "We need to talk," I said finally, my voice cutting through the silence. She turned, her green eyes heavy with guilt. "I know," she said. "I've been selfish. I dragged you into this, and I almost got us killed. I shook my head. You were fighting for what you believed in. I need to know where I stand, Lena. With you. With us. She crossed the room, sitting beside me on the stiff couch. I love you, she said, her voice cracking. But Riley was part of me. Losing her, it brought it all back. I took a deep breath, the photo from our wedding day heavy in my pocket. I can't compete with a ghost, I said. But I don't want to lose you. She reached for my hand, her touch warm. You're not competing, she said. I chose you. I'm still choosing you. It wasn't a promise, but it was enough for now. We spent the next days rebuilding, talking about the things we'd buried. Her guilt, my jealousy, our fears. The feds gave us updates. Crane's empire was collapsing, his associates turning on him. Riley's story had sparked a movement, with protests demanding accountability. But the cost was steep. We couldn't go back to Brooklyn, to our old lives. The feds offered us new identities in a small town in Oregon, far from the city's chaos. Lena hesitated, her love for New York as deep as her love for me. What do you want? I asked, realizing I'd never truly asked before. She looked at me, her eyes clear for the first time in months. I want a life with you, she said, wherever that is. We signed the papers, trading Claire and Lena for Emily and Sarah, two strangers in a quiet town. It felt like a betrayal of everything we'd been, but also a chance to start over. Before we left, Lena took off the locket. She placed it on the safe house table, a silent goodbye to Riley. She's at peace now, Lena said, her voice steady. I nodded, slipping the wedding photo into her hand. So are we? I said, hoping it was true. The drive to Oregon was long, the highways stretching endlessly before us. Lena drove, her hand resting on mine. We didn't talk much, but the silence was different now, comfortable, hopeful. For the first time, I felt like we were moving toward something, not running away. Oregon was all green hills and quiet mornings, a world away from New York's frenetic pulse. Our new home was a small cottage with a porch swing, surrounded by pines. As Emily and Sarah, we were strangers to everyone but each other, learning to navigate a life that felt both foreign and fragile. Lena, Sarah, now found work at a local newspaper, her camera capturing the small moments she'd always loved. I took up freelance design, my laptop a tether to the world we'd left behind. We were cautious, always looking over our shoulders, but the fear faded with time. What grew in its place was us, slowly, imperfectly rebuilding. One evening, as we sat on the porch swing, Lena turned to me. I was wrong, she said, her voice soft. I thought I needed to fix the past to move forward. But you're my future, Emily. The name felt strange, but her eyes were the same, green, fierce mine. I pulled out the wedding photo, now faded from handling. This is us, I said, pointing to the smiling women under the cherry blossoms. Not Riley, not Crane, just us. She nodded, tears falling, and kissed me. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. The news of Crane's conviction came months later. He'd been sentenced to life, his empire dismantled. Riley's story lived on, inspiring reforms and investigations. Lena wrote a piece about it, anonymous but powerful, a final tribute to the woman she'd loved. We didn't talk about divorce anymore. Instead, we talked about the future, adopting a dog, maybe a kid someday, planting a garden. The ghosts were still there, but they were quieter now, softened by time and choice. Lena chose me, and I chose her every day. One night, under a sky full of stars, Lena hung a new photo on our wall. Us, laughing in the Oregon rain, our arms around each other. This is home, she said, and I believed her. Riley's death had broken us, but it also forced us to face the cracks in our marriage. We weren't the same women who'd vowed forever in Central Park, but we were stronger, forged in fire and love. As we stood together, watching the stars, I knew we'd made it. not to a perfect ending, but to a new beginning, one we'd fight for, together.